Welcome back to Second Look Sports for episode 6. I'm Alex Mandarino, your host. Wait. He's not here today. Sorry, folks. He's not here today. It's Justin Arenburg. It's Brandon Brown. It's just the two of us. It's just the two of us today. Even our producer, Sarah, had to go play a frisbee game today. I mean, everyone's got stuff to do. Busy lives, busy times. Alex is busy at Sportsnet. Brandon, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Justin. Happy to be here with you again tonight. Yeah, Frisbee in the winter. I've never heard of that one. I guess there's a dome or something
Indoor,
going on.
indoor.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right, all right.
definitely not outdoor frisbee. That'd be crazy.
I can imagine. Yeah, but no, it's all good. I'm happy to be here. We've got a great lineup of things that we've got to discuss today, and I'm excited to kind of chop it up with you, and I'm sure we'll get into some great discussions.
Yeah, I mean, let's just talk about today. I was working at Sportsnet. Um, Pete Alonso, man, and Max Scherzer. Maybe coming to the Blue Jays. We'll figure that out. Maybe potentially during this episode, if it happens, we'll break the news for sure. We'll talk about it. But right now, as of right now, at 6:54 p.m. on Thursday evening, January 23rd, Pete Alonso is still a free agent. Do you think the Blue Jays is a fit for Pete Alonso?
I mean, yeah, I think he's a fit. He's a fit for sure. I think that's what the Jays have been looking for this offseason. They've wanted more power, right? And more bat on ball, more hard contact. I think Pete Alonso gives that to you. You know, he's a big guy. They don't call him the polar bear for no reason, right? So I think
Yeah.
he's a guy that might fit perfectly up in the Great White North. So I think it would work out if they're able to come to a deal. This all kind of goes back to, as we're going to get into the Santander contract and just kind of that renewed hope for Blue Jays fans that they're still involved with some of these bigger free agents.
Yeah. Just one last thing on Alonso. If he does come to the lineup, give me your starting lineup and do you before you say your starting lineup because I'll give you this first six. I'll give you the first six. Um, do you think him and Vlad sharing first base it would work? Like, do you think Vlad at third would work or no?
Well, I think both could potentially work, but as part of a platoon, right? Like you're not looking
Yeah,
at either
yeah,
one to firmly grab on to one position. I think it works if you can kind of spread the wealth around and give, both of these guys will probably look to be DHing a lot as well. So it
yeah.
gets them off the field, it keeps them rested, and hopefully gives them the opportunity to have, some of their better seasons as if Alonso were to come and join the Jays as well.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I worry defensively what it would look like for the Blue Jays, just from that standpoint. But yeah, give me a starting lineup with Santander, Pete Alonso in the lineup. What would you have?
What would I do? I mean, it totally depends on what you want to do. I mean, in the past, obviously, you've had Bo kind of move around a little bit. You're gonna have Springer maybe around the top of the lineup still. I don't think so with some of those new bats, right? Like maybe you try Jimenez at one, but I think it's a combination of, you're gonna have Jimenez and Bo are gonna be your high contact hitters. Then you're gonna have say Alonso were to jump in, you're gonna have him and Vladdy. Vladdy's probably gonna take that three spot still. Maybe they move him down to clean up, but I think it's a combination of those four, and then you got Santander, you got Varsho, you got George Springer, you still got
Yeah,
Alejandro Kirk. Like you still have some capable bats that are gonna fill out the bottom of that lineup.
Kirk, low
Yeah,
Perfido got power. Um,
absolutely.
if it was me, and this is only because Ian, our good friend Ian Finlayson, talked me into this today. Um, the more I think about it, the more it makes sense. Is Vlad lead off because you don't want Springer leading off anymore. Vlad lead off. Put Springer or sorry, Bo second, Santander third, or Alonso third, and Santander fourth, and Springer fifth, and Jimenez sixth, and then Varsho, Kirk, or Kirk Varsho and Loperfido maybe to round out, or Komet or Wagner, whoever it is that takes that ninth spot to round out the bottom of the rotation or the batting lineup. You know, but that top five, if that is what happens, that is a dangerous, dangerous top five, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think no matter how you look at it, it's going to be it could be a potentially very dangerous lineup in a division that's full of pretty dangerous lineups when you start looking at some of the moves and some of the just the rosters that some of these other teams have. So it would certainly put them in a position to look like they can, perform against some of the best teams in the league, especially offensively. And they've
Yeah.
had good pitching for the last couple of years, so that could all just come together perfectly if they're able to get a guy like Alonso.
Yeah. So instead of talking about hypotheticals all night, let's talk about confirmations, and that is Anthony Santander coming to the Toronto Blue Jays. First real big signing in the last 4 years, I want to say. Obviously, there's been a couple offseason acquisitions, Matt Chapman, Andre Jimenez, like we said, but no free agent signings that are strike as big as what Jimenez is, other than Kevin Gausman a couple years ago. Um, in terms of a player and like Kevin Gausman pitcher, obviously. So, you know, first off, 5 years, $92.5 million, 60. It's actually got a current day salary or current day evaluation of $68 million. I'm
That's
pretty
right.
sure right now with
Because of the
deferrals.
deferrals. Yeah.
Yeah. So just give me your original or like your overall reaction to this deal. Like what are you thinking about it?
I mean, my initial reaction was surprise, just because I was kind of taken aback that the Jays did get a, top level free agent. I wasn't necessarily expecting that. So I think that was something that took me by surprise. And I was just happy to hear that they had, come to an agreement with somebody that they had been pursuing for so long. So that was
Hmm.
good. But once you kind of got into the, the nitty gritty of the contract, the deferrals is nice. It's always good to save as much money as you possibly can for other free agents. But when you look at the player, I love it. He provides something that the Jays haven't had in a long time, which is a powerful bat that can hit the ball from both sides of the plate. And that's something that's been dearly missed. And Santander definitely brings that to the lineup. And, he's going to be familiar. He knows the division very well, obviously playing with the Orioles. And it's just going to be a kind of a spark. There's been a lot of talk about him in the last couple of days, and he's apparently a great locker room guy. He's known for being somebody who kind of brings the team together. So I haven't
Yeah.
heard anything about the player other than he may not always put the ball in play. If it's not a home run, it's maybe a little bit less likely he's hitting a stretch double or something like that. But
Yeah.
when you look at where he's going to be in the lineup and what he provides, I love the deal, and I think there's just going to be more good to come as we continue to hear more.
And overall, like just thinking about the money side of things, like like every contract gets scrutinized. So like looking at this deal when it comes down the pipeline, are you like, wow, I can't believe they got him for this little, or like did you think it was an overpayment?
No, I mean, when you look at that money in total, maybe, but I think the way that they structured the contract, it certainly doesn't feel like an overpayment when you look at the real money that's involved. But it's interesting to know, it'd be interesting to know exactly what some of the other offers were if we're able to ever
Yeah,
hear
that's
kind of
true.
that. But
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like I mean, when you look at some of the money that's been thrown around for some of these, high profile players this offseason, it definitely was interesting to see the continuation of the deferred money. But beyond that, I think it was a pretty reasonable deal. I just hope this doesn't become a trend for the Blue Jays necessarily, because in 2035 we're going to be hearing about how they can't spend any money because of all these deferrals. So let's hope they
Yeah.
keep it reasonable. That's all. That's my main hope. Yeah,
Yeah, I like they got money to spend, obviously.
definitely.
So when this deal first came across, I was actually like surprised at the number. I honestly was expecting more.
Yeah,
Only because, and like I would have said 5 years, $100 million. That's still a good deal for this type of player. You got to remember, like he put up 44 home runs last year.
yeah,
He puts the ball in the seats at an average pace or a good pace. That is
above
quote that
average.
yeah. Oh, is that what Raha Sakin said? Is I forget what the exact he said he puts the ball in the seats at a good pace or an
Yeah.
average pace. Um so personally like if you take that into account and the 44 home runs this guy hit last year, I forget the 244 batting average. Man, like having him in the middle of the lineup that's just gonna come up to clean up, like it's gonna be it's gonna be impressive. Not only because then like it's like okay, you can't just wave off Vlad and go to the next guy because now you have Santander there. Like it's gonna make it harder on teams. I'm not saying the Blue Jays are back and they're gonna win 80 or 95 games. They're probably not, but I just think if you have him, now Vlad becomes even that more dangerous. But the thing with Vlad is we haven't seen him have two back-to-back years that have been great. So that's what you're hoping for this year from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Um, but like just looking at this for the rest of the offseason, is this enough? I know we talked about Alonso and Scherzer, but if those two deals don't happen, is Santander enough for you to like get behind this team going into this year with any hope for the playoffs?
I mean, I think you always have hope to potentially make the playoffs, especially with the, additional wild card team that we've seen in the last, decade or since whenever that rule was
I think
changed.
it's 2021 to be
Okay,
honest.
so less,
2020,
a
yeah.
handful of years. And I think that's improved. It's improved a lot of teams' chances and the way that they look at the regular season and how they want to kind of approach free agents. Like I know there are teams going all in, trying to, bring in as much, start and talent that they can. But there's a lot of teams out there that will surprise you, and there's always going to be surprising teams. So this sets them up to be in a pretty good spot. Like I said, it definitely improves them offensively, but if you really want to talk about, making the playoffs and making a push to be a more competitive team, I don't think it's quite enough yet.
So last one on this, do you think it's a failure of an offseason?
Honestly, this move saved, I think, Ross Atkins especially because without
You're
this,
talking about his job?
not necessarily his job, but just the optics around this offseason. Like I think
Mm,
if he
okay.
hadn't had signed at Santander, and obviously we don't know that they're done, but if say they are, I think it saves them in the fact that they actually like landed somebody. Last year they
Yeah.
like if last year they went down a similar path and
Oh
didn't
man,
really
that was
land
bad.
anybody. So I think if you were to see that 2 years in a row, it would be something that would almost be unforgivable, and especially with the amount of attention they paid to Soto and Sasaki and trying to spend as much money as they did, and then they come out of it with absolutely nothing. It would have been probably something that would have been really tough to come back from without some sort of crazy internal improvement from some of these players, right?
Hmm. No, that's totally fair. I understand that, and I just for me, I think it is a failure of an off season still.
Okay.
Only because how many times are we gonna be second place? Like it's like ridiculous. Like it's just I get like Santander is a good signing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Santander isn't a good signing, but it's like we went to the table with Soto. They went to the table with Sasaki. They went to the table with Max Fried. They went to the table with Corbin Burns. They thought for sure they were going to get Corbin Burns. Every single top free agent waved them off as a second place team. And it's it's more so about how do you make this place the destination teams or players want to go then. And that's like the failure to me of like obviously they didn't do a good enough job of like either selling people on the franchise or they didn't do a good enough job of pitching someone. They just didn't do a good enough job in that department because you did a good job. You were a finalist in basically every free agent this year, but second place is just not good enough. It like in Shai Davidi's piece a couple weeks ago on Sportsnet.ca, someone tell him that the Toronto Blue Jays and Michael Phelps was silver medal. So it's just it happened again. And I mean, if you disagree with that, Brandon, I totally understand. But that's where I'm at with this season right now, or this off season right now.
No, I think quickly, like I think the way that you look at those when you talk about if you're talking about being a top echelon team, a team that's going to be every year competing to sign high profile free agents, then you're right. Like I think they still have not achieved that level where they could be looked at as a team that not like to say they're ever going to be the Los Angeles
Yeah.
Dodgers, but a team that can go head to head and have a compelling argument to bring those kind of guys in. But when you look at the totality of kind of what the Jays were able to do when you add in what they got in Jimenez. Nick Sandlin, I think, is kind of going under the radar in that trade too. Like he could be a guy who maybe eats some innings for the Jays this year.
Yeah.
Jeff Hoffman was a reasonable deal, although there
Yeah,
was some
Jeff.
controversy around that. But if he stays healthy and can provide some high leverage innings, that's a great signing. And then
Yeah.
it just comes down to what Santander can do in the lineup, and hopefully the damage can still be done to, like I said, kind
Yeah.
of make it
Other
all
teams'
make sense, right?
ballparks.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, well, let's move on. Let's talk a little hockey.
Cool.
As our friends on Second Looks Hockey, and you should check out that show if you haven't already. Christian Chiniti and David Leo, the Italians, called it UFC HL
Love
for
that.
Saturday night's UFC main event. Actually, sorry, it was ice hockey event, NHL ice hockey event. The Vancouver Canucks taking on the Edmonton Oilers. Uh, you know, first off, on that game, I look at that play, the Connor McDavid getting up and cross-checking Connor Garland, Tyler Myers cross-checking Evan Bouchard. Um, Personally, I look at those as two similar plays. I think that they're the same play. Like it doesn't matter. I think the 3 game suspension fits for both of them. I think I was expecting 2 games, but 3 games, sure, like whatever. Um, But I just want to get your initial thoughts on the 3 game suspension first off.
Yeah, no, I think like most people, I kind of was thinking 2 games, but then as I started to think about it, I thought the 3 games was actually fair because when you consider the history, with McDavid in specifics, you think if it's worth if the penalty or the incident was worth 2 games, the cross check, then you add in what his history is, and to me that just takes it to a third game. So I don't think it was a incredibly crazy, suspension or that McDavid was unfairly punished. Thought it was, it's always a bit strange when you see any player really, being kind of handled the way that he was by Connor Garland. But at the same time, it is hockey, and
Yeah,
the refs, it's up to them. The judgment is with them in terms of what is a
yeah,
penalty and what's not. So it's rough to see a guy like McDavid look so frustrated, especially since the suspension. That kind of frustration looks to still have continued with the Oilers and with McDavid, but I didn't think it was incredibly unfair or anything like that. I thought it was kind of what it deserved. I thought the Myers one was worse, and he has a history
yeah.
too. So the fact that he only got three
Like,
games was kind of surprising in that one.
I would agree, but that's why I'm saying I think they're the same. Like, I
Yeah.
think Myers looks worse, but I think it's the same play. Like, that's the way I'm looking at this. Um, but let's just like be honest here. Like, if the NHL gave Myers 3 games and gave McDavid 1 or 2, that would have been an absolute uproar. If you give McDavid 3 games and you give Myers two, whatever, like that would absolutely send Edmonton Oilers fans into the NHLPA's front office in downtown Toronto, riding at their door. It would be crazy. Obviously Connor McDavid respects what the refs have to do. Wes McCauley's a good ref, but like, do you think the 3 game do you think the league treats McDavid different than what they do for other players?
I don't think the league does. I think maybe each individual ref maybe does. I'd love to see. I don't know. I'm sure there's someone tracking this, but um, if there's any specific refs in general that maybe are out on the West Coast and they see McDavid a lot, and maybe there are guys that hold the whistle back a little bit more because they just see the kind
Yeah,
of speed and skill, and maybe they just judge it a little bit differently. It's harder to tell at those quick speeds.
yeah.
How much a guy is, especially when it comes to stick penalties and hooking and
Mm-hmm.
holding. It's like it's such a difference when you're moving, 5 or 10 kilometers an hour faster than some of the other guys. But I don't think as a league wide issue that that they're trying to hold McDavid back from anything or not favor. There's maybe a conceded effort to say we're not going to favor this guy because he is
Yeah.
almost the face of our league, but I don't think it goes as far. Similar to like Patrick Mahomes, if you want to make that argument that. I don't think there's a conceded effort throughout the entire league that we need to make sure that this guy doesn't get too many calls. I think it's just do your best, and if we'll deal with it, kind of on an incidental basis, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I do think maybe he's able to draw calls more frequently, but I also think you have to remember this man can skate circles around everyone else in the league except for probably
Yeah,
20 other players, especially Nathan McKinnon down in Colorado, and they
yeah.
draw some of the most penalties in the league because when you skate that fast and you're that well, and then you can stick handle that well with the puck, there's nothing you can really do except for take a penalty. Like you're literally stuck in like slow motion almost against those two. So that's why I think Connor McDavid, like, people always say like, oh, he gets all these penalty calls for him, they're drawn. But I really think like it's partly because of how good he is and like what you have to do to try and limit him. If not, you're probably giving up 5 or 2, 3 points a night to him, no matter what. Like some penalties that people take is just to literally prevent a goal or an assist that he's gonna get. Um,
And I just you just spurred a thought in me is that it makes it even that much more impressive that he was able to do what he did in the playoffs last year because
yeah,
the way
yeah.
that the intensity ramps up, the physicality ramps up in the playoffs, and for him to just be able to continue to push through that and obviously was still playing at an unreal level, was the best player on the ice pretty much every night. So like to be able to go through that and to still be able to play the way he does and to be able to create and still move around the ice, like it's incredible. Like he's far and away the NHL's most, skilled player and
Yeah.
probably best player in the league right now.
I don't know about best. I would put Nathan McKinnon number one right now.
That's fair. We'll talk about him
Personally,
later.
personally. But do you think Connor McDavid is dirty? Like, do you think he's a dirty player?
No, I think he does have like a bit of an issue controlling his emotions clearly. Like I don't think that makes him
I don't think
dirty.
it's an issue. I think it's good.
No, yes, fair, but I think in terms of the way that, it'd be great if he, got up from the ice after Garland let him go and he, got used his frustration and went out and scored the game time goal or whatever, but
Okay,
I think
I
that
get.
he just kind of has to he's still because I
So
think I don't remember his first suspension that clearly,
I don't remember it
um
either, to be honest.
but I
But
think like he I don't know.
if
I don't know, that elbow on Johansson last week kind of had me
yeah,
thinking about it, the way he stuck his elbow out. But I still don't think inherently that he's a dirty player looking to go
I
after
don't,
those
yeah, I
things.
don't, yeah, exactly. Like, when it comes down to the end of the day, like, Connor McDavid does not care about trying
Yeah.
to go out there and injure someone. He's going out there to try and win a game. That's all he cares about. Um, that's literally, you can see it in his eyes. He does not want to go out there and hurt someone. I don't think that's ever been an intent for him. I think Saturday night, emotions get the best of him, and you know what? It's probably a good response in that situation. I don't mind the response. It's just an unacceptable play. And yeah, you deserve to get suspended, but like I'm not saying McDavid shouldn't have done that, if that makes sense. Like basically I'm saying like McDavid, it makes sense to do that in that situation to show like your frustration, but then you know that you're gonna get suspended for that, and you're okay with that because of what you did. Um, but one other thing about that is when you think about him doing that play on Saturday night, like that is something that you want to see out of your captain, would you not? Like, is that not something you wish Austin Matthews kind of did more if he was frustrated? Like, he gets cross-checked in Buffalo. You're not gonna see him go out there and have a reaction like frig off, like just cross-check someone to the face. Like, obviously, we saw him do it, and he hasn't done it since. He hasn't actually. I remember seeing this video about Morgan Riley jumping in, or Mark Giordano jumping in, when he was in a confrontation with someone, and Austin Matthews just laughs it off. So I'd much rather Connor McDavid's reaction than Austin Matthews' reaction over the last couple of years. I don't know about you, but that's the way I feel.
Yeah, no, I think I don't hate like it's not the reaction, it's not the emotions, it's not anything, it's not the response to Garland. It's just the way in which he does it. If he gets up and he gives him a shove, he takes a roughing penalty, even if he drops his gloves, tried to fight him, it's different than taking your stick. It's the same thing with Matthews and I think it was Darlene, right?
Yeah, it was
He
Darlene in
he
20,
was
or I forgot the
giving
year,
him
but
some, yeah, it was in the outdoor game, I think, right?
yeah,
In Hamilton.
Hamilton. Yeah.
But he was giving Darlene was giving him shots in front of the net, and Matthews, got angry, frustrated, and did almost nearly the exact same thing.
Oh
Um,
yeah, basically the exact same thing, I think.
and I don't Matthews has always had that kind of more cooler streak, I think, to him, but you could tell the frustration was there, and you're right. Like I don't think we have seen that anymore. I don't know if that's somebody got to him and said, "Hey, you gotta control this," and maybe that's his way of dealing with it, kind of laughing
Yeah.
things off. But I think like McDavid just needs to find his channel to, take that frustration. And you can tell with McDavid, he's kind of a more of a agitated guy. Like he doesn't always, is not happy go lucky all the time. Like he wants to win and he feels that pressure too. So I think he just has to, like I said, kind of find that way to channel his energy all the time and not necessarily to not be that physical or that, um, vicious. It's just, he's just got to find a different way to go about it without, yeah, costing his team games basically. Like,
I think they're
essentially
going to be
he's
fine
been
without
out.
him. So I think
Yeah.
we, like, they already played one game. I know they lost 3-2 to Washington, but that's the best team in the league right now. It's middle of the season. It's not, you played a good game. You only lost by 1 goal. It's no big deal. You were without Connor McDavid. Obviously, with him in the game, things might look a little bit different. Game two is tonight against Vancouver. Obviously, the rematch. Well, first off, do you think anything is going, or like, how do you think tonight's game is going to go?
I don't know. I've kind of gone back and forth. I like there's definitely a world where I see, someone on the Oilers kind of maybe even Corey Perry going over to Garland at some point and kind of not necessarily trying to fight him, but just kind of trying to figure it out and see how they want to handle it. Because I don't,
Intimidate them,
yeah,
or like,
exactly. Like I don't,
yeah.
again, the Oilers, especially without McDavid, are not, hopefully not going to go out there and do anything, too stupid and again, cost
Like,
themselves a penalty or a game because they're trying to get retribution, especially when McDavid's not even in the lineup and he wasn't hurt on the play. I think it was
no, and
just,
it was
yeah,
McDavid who's the one that did it. So like that's what like I'm like, if anyone would be mad, it would be like Evan Bouchard, if anything, but like, or Connor Garland for that matter. Like it, like that to me should not result in anything that happens tonight. Like that play is like over. Like
yeah,
that wasn't like a play. Like it wasn't like a hit where you're looking to get him the next game because he injured your guy. No,
yeah.
like he's in the lineup. Everyone's in the lineup that was cross-checked on Saturday night. Like it's just, I think we're gonna see something for the fact of nothing, and it's just there. Like, what are you gonna pay? Like, what are you trying to get payback for? Like, that's what I don't understand. Maybe you do.
I
Like,
guess maybe you're right. Like maybe Vancouver, some of the Vancouver guys, or maybe like I heard Garland speak. I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but he
yeah, he
was
did.
basically saying like he doesn't care to
He doesn't
be
care.
public
He
enemy
That was
number
the
one in
quote.
Edmonton. Like yeah,
Yeah.
so if he doesn't care and he's translated that to the team and maybe they've already dealt with it and they're again gonna kind of channel that energy into going out and beating Edmonton, um, then yeah, maybe that's kind of how we see it. I don't think we're gonna get like a fight or any kind of like retribution again. I like it might be a physical game, you might see some hits, but like I don't see it going that way. Maybe like down the line if I don't do they have any more games this year? Maybe not. Next
I
year,
think
maybe if
they
they
have one more game this year after this, but not 100% sure. Just
maybe
a final.
you probably get a little bit more verbal in that game. Like you're gonna have McDavid back. Maybe some of those
Yeah.
Canucks are gonna kind of chirp him about that play, but beyond beyond that tonight, like and I could easily be surprised, but yeah, I don't see like you what it's all about.
Yeah, and for Vancouver, what I just wanted to quickly wrap on was, if you're Vancouver, you don't care about like what happened on Saturday night. You care about getting wins. Like that is what is most important to you. Edmonton's in a good spot. Vancouver on the other side, they are so inconsistent. It's not even funny. They haven't won back-to-back games since December 1st. They lost to Buffalo just a couple of nights ago. It's not looking good whatsoever. You know, you have JT Miller, you have Elias Pettersson, trade rumors, who's going, who's not, who's playing tonight, Brock Besser even now. So all Vancouver needs to do and all Rick Tocchet seems to want to focus on, which is the correct thing to focus on, is just trying to get a win tonight. That's all he cares about is the 2 points. So it'll be interesting to see, in my opinion. What happens tonight, I don't think, personally, if I had to guess about what I'm gonna watch a few hours from now, is the Edmonton Oilers going to try to go at the Vancouver Canucks a little bit, and Vancouver's going to try and play the game. They're not, I don't think Vancouver's going to go out there looking for something. On the other side, I think Edmonton might go out there looking for something.
Yeah, I kind of
So,
agree.
so with that, let's go into our first segment of the show. It's one of our favorite times of the show. It's what the name of this podcast is. Let's take a second look at something, Brandon. So what is the second look, or what are you taking a second look at this week?
So funny that you brought up the dog,
The
Nate McKinnon,
dog.
earlier because that is actually who I am taking a second look at this week because as you mentioned, he's just been on a tear, and I've been enjoying watching. A lot of the Colorado games are a little bit too late for me, but I've been enjoying
Oh,
watching a lot of his highlights. That's for sure because he has been on an unreal pace. What's he got? 75 points, I think, through the
yeah,
year right now.
yeah.
He's blowing out the competition. He, like you said, he.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
not gonna say best player in the league right now, but he is certainly has been the best player over the past 2 seasons, pretty much. So I can't fault you at all for taking that extra jump and just saying he might be the best player going right now. I'd still probably give that to McDavid, but the way that he's playing and the way that Colorado has looked pretty much well improved since they didn't start out perfectly, but now they're in their first wild card spot. They're I think 2 points back of Minnesota, who's second in the Central Division there. And I would expect them. That's I think where they're going to finish. I don't necessarily think that they're a better team, or at least not going to be a better regular season team than the Jets. I think the Jets will probably hang on and win that division, but I think the Avalanche are going to be right there, and I think they're going to be, in my opinion, probably the team to contend with in the West. I think the way that they can play.
Ooh.
I was
So wait, so
anticipating.
your second look is Nate Dogg or the Colorado Avalanche? Because from what I'm hearing, it's the Colorado Avalanche.
Well, no, it's more that he is the heart, soul, and engine of that team, I think. Like they have a
Oh,
ton of great players, obviously, and especially when you look at their first line, when especially their power play when they're throwing out McKinnon, you got Makar, you got Rantanen. It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
such a great little fit there, and I think that he's the like it's almost like McDavid in Edmonton, except instead of a second line center in Draisaitl, he's got like a winger with him riding shotgun all the time. So
Oh
I
yeah.
think it gives them the edge potentially in the West, and I just am loving what I'm seeing from the dog.
Man is so electric. Every time he gets the puck, it's just a burst of speed. Just how quick he can just turn it on and get by everyone. His stick handling, he's like he's absolutely filthy. Like he's one of the best players in the league. Sorry, not one of the best, the best player in the league in my opinion right now. Just the way he's playing, just it's like it flips back and forth on a year to year basis. You can't tell me how great he wasn't last year.
Yeah,
Um, 140 points last year, 51 goals, 89 assists, like crazy numbers, just crazy numbers. Already 75 points this year, probably in I would say the lead for the Heart right now, in my
100%.
opinion. So it's just going to be fun to watch the rest of the season with Colorado, considering where they started out as well, like you said.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Taking a second look is Hockey Canada, and more in particular Logan Thompson, because this is absolute bullcrap. Like, what are we even thinking here? Like, as a nation, do you not learn from Dave Cameron or the World Junior roster? Like I really don't get this. Like drawing the comparison to the World Junior team, probably not even realistic because of the fact that, you know, they're two totally different hockey management teams. But just the fact that you didn't even call Logan Thompson, as he said on the hockey show of Sportsnet yesterday. You didn't even reach out to him to say, hey, we want to look at you and say, we're going to actually take a look at your games because you're getting evaluated to be on Team Canada. No, 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 no. They couldn't do that. They couldn't do that. Instead, he didn't even get a call. Like what? Like he's the best goalie in the NHL right now, other than Hellebuck. Just take Hellebuck out. He's the best goalie in the NHL right now. He's 22, 2, and 3 this season with a 925 save percentage, a 2.09 goals against average, and you're not going to put him even in consideration. I looked up, even underneath the hood, his he's second. He ranks second in the league for goals saved above expected at 26 goals. 26. So I don't understand how you can even like you know what? It's not even the fact I'm not mad that they didn't take him. I'm not mad that they didn't take him. It's more so the fact that you didn't even call him. You didn't even call him and say, "We're looking at you." Because that to me is ridiculous. Like who else are you looking at for Team Canada goalies? Like there's no other goalie that you would have been looking at outside of Marc-Andre Fleury, which why would you ever take Marc-Andre Fleury in this situation? It just it mind boggles me because like if you have an injured goalie, why is he not the first guy you're calling? Like he should be the starter right now. He's 12-1-1 since the team was announced with a 938 save percentage. This guy has been insane. I just don't get it. I really don't.
It is crazy. He's been unbelievable, and I think they made a mistake not calling him and not keeping him involved. Like Montembeault, I don't know. Thompson at least should have been
I
called.
agree. Montembeault shouldn't be there. Like it should be Logan Thompson. It makes no sense why Logan Thompson is not on the roster and Montembeault is. And Logan Thompson shouldn't even be considered to be the third goalie. He is the starter if he's there. He literally is going to be a Vezina finalist this year if he continues on this pace. It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. But anyway, after this rant, we're taking a break and we'll be right back with the second half of Second Look Sports. Welcome back to the second half of the Second Look Sports episode 6. First half definitely electrifying. A little bit of an intermission there to cool down after my Logan Thompson rant about not even being named to Team Canada or like being called by Team Canada. Um, I mean, just to wrap up on that, Brandon, like I don't know. Do you have any last thoughts on like why he isn't even called? Like it's just mind-boggling to me. Still,
No,
even for
I,
a 5 minute
I
break.
do. No, I know I do. I I do think that there's probably more to the story. Like I don't know if there's anything like if it's personal, if there's just, history between any of the specific
Yeah.
coaches. I know
Well, Bruce Cassidy is on that.
that's what I was
Yeah.
just gonna say, and he spent
Yeah.
some time with Thompson and Aiden Hill, of course, in
Yeah.
Vegas. So, maybe that triangle is just not meant to be, but
Hmm.
it could be something like that because if it's just based on the ice play, like you can't really make an
Y-
argument to not have him
No.
included in the conversation. So I don't really understand it either. I think you're spot on.
Yeah. It's just it's mind-boggling. You know what else is mind-boggling? The fact that Patrick Mahomes has never not played in an NFC or AFC championship game in his entire career. That stat is just crazy to me. I mean, like, as a Patriots fan, like Tom Brady played in 11 AFC championship games. Like it was like AFC championship game or bust. But for me, but literally that is the case for Patrick Mahomes. Like there is no other option. It's AFC championship that or that's like there's no other option. And I heard something broadcast report on the broadcast last week. And I think it's fitting. The Kansas City Invitational, because that's what it's became. Other than last year when they went to Baltimore, they literally just are hosting AFC championships every time. It's like a golf tournament, the Kansas City Invitational Tournament. Yeah, I mean, first off, let's run through the two matchups. AFC, we have the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. On the NFC, we have the Commanders versus Eagles. First thing I want to do with these two matchups is I want you to tell me 1 through 4 who has the best quarterbacks.
Okay, how do you define best?
Well, who's the best quarterbacks? Who would you want on your roster going into this weekend's games? One
All
through
right, all
four.
right. I'll play your game. I'll play your game. If I'll start at four, just to
Okay,
make it
okay.
that way I can go build up to my number one.
Yeah.
Um, Number four, you know what? I'll say number four, I would take Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, okay.
But I will caveat that if I knew that I was getting a 100% healthy Jalen Hurts, I there might be an argument that I would take him number three. But right now,
Okay.
I will say going into this weekend, with how everything's kind of playing out and what I've been seeing, I will take Jalen Hurts at number four. I think we're starting to already kind of telegraph where I'm going with this. I'll take Jaden Daniels at number three. Then I will take. We are going into the AFC Championship. We're not going into week one or week 12 or even the
No, no,
divisional.
we're going to the AFC Championship.
I hate myself, but I will take Josh Allen at number two, and I'll take Patrick Mahomes, the man who gets you there pretty much every
Okay.
time. I'll take him number one. How about you, Justin?
Okay, I'll do the same thing. Number 4, it's not even close. Number 4 is Jalen Hurts, not even close. You ready for number 3?
No,
Are
I
you
know where
ready?
you're going with this, and I don't like it. But yes, go
Where
ahead.
where am I going with number
I think
3?
you're gonna say Patrick Mahomes, number three.
I am going Patrick Mahomes number 3, and it's not because I don't think Patrick Mahomes is good. We're saying right now. We're saying
Yep,
right now,
it's fair.
who going into this game would you want the most? Patrick Mahomes has not played well this entire season. I don't care what anyone has said. He has. There was no way that he was even going to be considered for an MVP conversation. That was crazy. Had midway through the season when he was leading the league in interceptions and was still the MVP favorite. That was beyond crazy to me. But so Jalen Hurts number 4, Patrick Mahomes number 3, and it's based on this year's play. It's not based on Patrick Mahomes is one of the best quarterbacks of all time because he's already a top 3 quarterback of all time. It's based on how they're playing right now. So Patrick Mahomes number 3, Jaden Daniels number 2, and Josh Allen number 1. Josh Allen is the best quarterback going into this weekend, and it's not even close for me. The way that he's played this year, he he's so much more mature with the ball and his decisions. Oh my, I can't even speak right now. Yeah, I can't make decisions. There you go. Um, he's so much more mature when it comes to thinking about the game than what he ever has before. Last weekend, for example, divisional round against the Baltimore Ravens has a chance to pitch the ball on I think it was 3rd and goal, and honestly, if he pitches the ball to James Cook, probably gonna be a fumble. Probably the Ravens go back and score a touchdown off of it. But no, he decides to tuck and hold on to the ball, go down, and get a field goal to go up 8. That is like there are so many times that I've watched Josh Allen just chuck the ball or try to pitch the ball and force something that isn't there. And it's just a totally different Josh Allen. Josh Allen's always been great. Don't get me wrong. Josh Allen has always been great. But right now, what we're seeing out of him is just the way he's processing the game. It's almost like it's slowing down for him out there, and he's able to just process it a little bit better and understand, hey, you know what? I don't have to pitch this ball right now. We're not in a situation where it's do or die. We're actually winning this game and we're in a good situation. Let's take a second and think about doing the smart play here. That's what I'm seeing out of Josh Allen. And then there's situations in a game where he knows I have to take over. And that's what he does. He didn't have to be Superman last weekend against the Baltimore Ravens. But you go back to I think it was week 11 in the NFL season when a big down, I think it was big 3rd down or big 4th down, I believe, against Kansas City, and he runs for a touchdown. Like he knows when it's his moment and he has to step up to the plate. And it's just unlike we've seen before with Josh Allen. That's why he's the best quarterback right now. And number two, don't even question it. Jaden Daniels is playing a lot better football than what Patrick Mahomes is right now. It's not even a question to me. Like, like, man, oh man, Jaden Daniels is just gonna cause problems for the next 20 years for so many franchises in the NFC. Like, Washington has found their guy. It's crazy what a good ownership can do for you when you sell it, when you get rid of the bad owner. It's good karma. Um, yeah, it's just I can't believe that where we are right now with Jaden Daniels' progress already. But I'll give you a chance to rebuttal your top four. If you want to stay put though and not go out on a limb with me, I understand. But it's Jaden Hurts or Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Jaden Daniels, and Josh Allen. Those are the four correct quarterbacks in order right now.
No, I mean I'll keep my order. Again, if Josh and the Bills go out and beat the Chiefs this weekend, I'd be happy to say that I was wrong on that end. But um, and I'll be happy for the Bills. This will certainly be a competitive game. I'm excited to watch. I don't know if it's going to be a shootout or if it's going to be now that the Bills defense is now apparently takeaway machine. This could be a low scoring game, maybe defensive game as well. But
Yep.
yeah, I don't think I'm gonna stick with what I've got, but I do have a question based on what you said.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
we know you're a Patriots guy.
yeah.
So there was this guy, Tom Brady, reminds me a lot of Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, oh.
Just kidding, it's the other way around. But
What?
you're telling yeah, Patrick Mahomes reminds me like of his career trajectory of Tom Brady, right? Like
Oh,
that's
okay, okay. Yeah, yeah.
um and people want to call them both or one or the other the GOAT. That's what it is.
No, 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 no. Don't even.
I'm
No,
not there, bro. Brady is the GOAT.
you can't even. He
But
has to
there are
have
people
eight.
that legitimately want or think that Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT.
He
That's
he has to
totally
have eight. Okay, like let's just put this to bed
no.
very
Let me get
quickly
to
in 30.
let me get to my question because it's good
You
for you.
just you
I'm
you
not trying
riled
to
me up.
start
You
anything. I'm
riled
not
me
trying to
up.
start anything. I agree with you. Brady is has the better career. Mahomes just has time. That's all. Um, what I wanted to ask is going back, Tom Brady won 7 Super Bowls, and not every
Yeah,
one of them was he the best quarterback though, or was he even a great quarterback? Was he in the top
yeah,
four,
yeah,
top five
yeah.
of the NFL, right? Maybe yeah, most of the seasons he was, but there were some statistical anomalies, I'm sure, where he wasn't having his best season. But going into an AFC Championship game, there's no way you weren't taking Tom Brady over like, Peyton Manning or Joe Flacco or Blake Bortles for Christ's sakes. Like yeah, it could be anybody, and you're gonna take
Yeah, but
Tom Brady, right? Like I
I
think
don't know about that. Like,
you gotta beat the king, right? Has anybody beat him yet to get to the Super
yeah,
Bowl?
like Joe Burrow has.
That's fair, but he's not here. Like I think if I
Joe Burrow's the one quarterback. I'm like,
yeah
bro, you give that guy a team, like a complete team, like Patrick Mahomes has, and you give him a good coach instead of like, don't get me wrong, Zach Taylor is not a bad coach, but there's such a difference between Zach Taylor and Andy Reid. It's
yeah
not even close. Um, I'm just saying that's the one guy that like I would automatically
yeah.
put over Mahomes if we actually get to see
But
that because
part of that's because the formula is there. You've seen it happen, right? Like we know Josh
yeah,
and the
and
Bills have beaten them in the regular season, but like it's hard. Like until you beat them in the playoffs, like I'm almost always
so
gonna go with the guy that you know, right? So
yeah, I get that, but I'm gonna say like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. I actually can't say that because Joe Burrow's in this conversation as well. Like it's like Tom Brady, Peyton Manning,
yeah,
like you can okay, you know what? Maybe it's a little bit disrespect. I don't know, a little bit Big Ben. Like, would you throw him in that conversation as a
100%. Yeah,
top three?
yeah,
So, and honestly, to me, Lamar's the one odd man out. I think he's a special talent. I don't think. I think I believe in more so Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Joe Burrow only because of the pure accuracy with throwing the ball that I'm seeing. And yeah, like it's just Lamar still lacks in that passing game for me. He's so electric with his legs. But until they actually use that properly with Derrick Henry, it's crazy that they didn't use that in the second half and went away from it. But anyway, I get what you're saying, and he just has to be a game manager almost type deal, and like he's still good enough. Um, but don't you root for the underdog? Like everyone didn't root for Tom Brady. Everyone hated Tom Brady. Everyone wanted him to
Bro,
lose.
and
Like,
that's the thing. Everyone's that's what's become of Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, right? Everyone loves to hate them now. There's all the conspiracies about them. I can understand. Like there are parts of that organization that I despise as well, but
yeah,
I also think that when it comes down to it, like they still I think are just in the best position. They got the home field advantage. It's gonna be crazy in there. And I don't necessarily, I'm not guaranteeing or think that they're even going to win the game, but I think that if I was going to, if I'm going to take a quarterback with under 2 minutes left to go, you say there's 13 seconds left, you never know, right? Like
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
probably going to take Patrick Mahomes, and that's not based on even statistical anomalies or anything
yeah.
that
So
says it's just kind of just a
you're
feel.
saying this matchup, or are you saying in the NFL you're taking Patrick Mahomes?
No, like if I'm in almost any game, one game
Okay,
playoff
well,
scenario, right?
yeah,
Like
I would
but
take
but
Joe
that's a
Burrow.
caveat with this team. It all depends on who you got. If I have
Yeah,
a defensively strong team that doesn't quite have as talented skill position players and is going to depend on the quarterback to kind of maneuver through a game and manage that, yeah, probably going to take Patrick Mahomes. If you're going to give me skill position players and a great offensive line and a good running game, then maybe you do want a guy like Lamar or Josh Allen because that gives you a different kind of threat. It gives you more offensive ability. But if you're talking
like
about winning, like I don't. The NFL
I
is so weird
I
that way,
would
right?
I would say the one guy I would take over Patrick Mahomes in terms of any time. Like obviously, I'm saying like that list for 1, 2, 4 is right now who I'm taking. Obviously, I think Patrick Mahomes is one of the best, or probably the best quarterback in the league right now. The one guy I would put or put him in the conversation with to be ahead of him would be Joe Burrow, in my opinion. Man, if Cincinnati was in the playoffs, Joe Burrow's the MVP of the league. It's not even close. Like it's like his season and what he was able to do with that bad of a defense and like try and drag them to the playoffs and even being in contention in week 18 was incredible to watch. He had an MVP season. He just didn't have an MVP or a decent team around him to even get him to the playoffs. So like that's the one guy outside Patrick Mahomes that I might take over in a situation where you're down and you need to go get a score. That like he's Joe Burrow's just ridiculous. But I know we got a little bit off topic, but it's a good conversation to have because like when you think about it, these AFC championship games or these conference championship games, they're most likely going to come down to one play, and it's going to be the quarterback who has all the pressure on them to make that one play. And it's like, who do you want to make that one play? Like, and I get
Yeah,
what you're saying. Like,
yeah,
I understand why you would say Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to stay with my gut, or with my ranking. I'm going to say I'd much rather in the two matchups, Josh Allen, and I'd much rather Jaden Daniels for this weekend. Do I know that that's right? Like, no, not 100%. I just, from what I'm seeing out on the field this year, that's what I believe to be
yeah,
true right now.
yeah. Do
Um,
you want to do some picks?
yeah, I was about to ask, do
Let's do the NFC first.
you want to do NFC first? Because that's the game that like that's the appetizer.
Right.
That's just the appetizer for the main course. No one really cares about this game as much as what the Bills Chiefs game is. Even Eagles fans, Commanders fans will tell you, "Oh no, this game's the best game of the weekend." No, everyone knows the big one, the one that's prime time is the Chiefs and Bills, and that's the reason why because it is the biggest matchup. It's Brady versus Manning all over again. Um, so, NFC, let's go. Who are you taking? Eagles or Commanders? Give me, don't just tell me Commanders and we come to me. Give me a reason why you're going with the team that you're going with.
Right, all right. I'm gonna take the Philadelphia Eagles. Um, I think that the Commanders have been a great story, and I think that Jaden Daniels looks like he's gonna be a star in this league for a long time, and he's probably gonna play great. And I don't think that they will have anything to look back on and be disappointed about. They've been a fantastic story, like I said, and they've had a great season. But I think when it comes down to it, I think the way that the Eagles have found a way to kind of dominate the line of scrimmage, both offensively and defensively, I think it's going to create problems for the Washington defense, which we know has given up some points, not necessarily, they've been able to outscore their opponents, which is a whole other story. But I think the Eagles, the way that they kind of manage the game, I think the way that they can run the ball, and I think obviously with Jalen Hurts's health, it could be interesting to see what he's able to
He
do, especially with his legs.
he was in
Um,
full participation today, I will say.
that's good.
So
That's good. So we're going to see, yeah, if he's able to kind of be at his full potential, especially like I said, kind of that mobile guy, but it's going to come down to his arm and whether or not he can make the throws, especially like to guys like AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. They're going to need to be able to put points up to be able to stick with and potentially beat the Commanders. So but I think it comes down to Saquon Barkley and the Eagles run game. If they can continue to run and put pressure on the Commanders defense, they're going to be able to put up points. And then I think the Eagles defense is good enough to hold the Commanders to a healthy number. So I'll take the
yeah.
Eagles. If I'm going to go with a score, let me go with, 27 to 24.
Okay, okay. I like that. I'm not just I don't think it's a bad pick. I am going the opposite though. I'm going to the Commanders. Um sole reason is we know what uh Philadelphia's gonna want to do with Jalen Carter. They're gonna want to rush. They're gonna want to get pressure on Jaden Daniels. Well, guess what? Jaden Daniels, that's where he actually performs better. It's actually, you know what? It's actually better if you go to this quarterback and you go, yeah, we're not going to actually pressure you. We're only going to send three and we're going to drop back in coverage. Nah, like everyone knows you're bringing pressure on him. Everyone knows like you're trying to get to him. You're trying to get sacks. That's where he thrives underneath pressure. He's just calm, cool, and collective. He just sees stuff that no one else is seeing out on a football field, and he's so composed to stay in that pocket and I don't know if it's the virtual reality thing that he's doing every day, like three times, four times a week, I think is actually is Cliff Kingsbury said. I don't know if it's that. I don't know what it is. All I know is that he looks so calm in the pocket that he can make those duress throws or under duress throws that just they just float and it's just a perfect spiral and it just drops into the breadbasket of the receiver's arms. It's just like you know when he throws like a deep ball, like it's gonna be caught. Like it's almost automatic with him right now, underneath pressure as well. And you know when it comes down to the crunch time, he's already proven it. He went into the number one seed last week. The Lions took them down. The pressure of the fourth quarter to go to a Super Bowl where some people might, flinch up. I don't think it's going to get to him. I think he's going to carry his team like he has the whole season. Sorry. And he's going to make plays down the stretch. That's the most important thing. I think he can make more plays down the stretch than what Jalen Hurts can. And actually, you know, lead a drive down the field with under 2 minutes to go. I don't think Jalen Hurts could do that right now. I really don't. And the coaching, I think the coaching is even on both sides. Cliff Kingsbury, electric, electric play caller. I'm just gonna say that right now. He's worked so well with Jaden Daniels. Not even
Yeah.
it's so good. Like how like well they connected. It's where Cliff Kingsbury needs to be in an OC position.
Well, yeah, and I think the like you said, if you look at the opposite side, Kellen Moore for the Eagles is going to be under a lot of pressure. There were a few
Yeah,
mistakes. He talked about and
yeah,
apologized for that play in the end zone where Hurts took the safety. Like you just
yeah.
can't you're not going to be in a position to survive that kind of play this week. So I think he's going to be under a ton of pressure, especially with head coaching jobs available. He's taken interviews like. If they go out and lose this game and the offense doesn't look very good, like you could almost kiss some of those jobs goodbye. So I think
Yeah.
it's going to be a huge, huge deal for the Eagles. And I just think, again, it comes down to almost that experience. Like we're one game away from the Super Bowl. Like it's great to Jane Daniels is probably going to play great. The Commanders are probably going to play great. I just think that the Eagles have been there before and they're going to stick to their game plan. And I think there should be hypothetically a little less improvisation for the Commanders available
S-
for them this time around.
So the only thing, like the reason, also the one of the other reasons why I think the Commanders are going to win this game is it might get into the Eagles' head of how much pressure they have to win this game. Like
Okay.
they are the heavy favorites coming in. They're like a 6 point spread right now on them to cover. Like you don't see that usually in an NFC championship game, let alone the pressure. They're the favorites to win the Super Bowl right now. So the pressure
Yeah.
on the Philadelphia Eagles to make it to the Super Bowl is like there is no pressure on Washington. Like this is all gravy. Like they making the playoffs was gravy. Having a good year, having 10 wins this year was gravy to them. Everything else has just been amazing to watch. It's been the Cinderella run. And I think that's what's gonna prevail them as well, is like just the fact of knowing we can go out there and play free football because we don't have to worry about the stress of not winning this game and looking at our fans and saying we fell short of the Super Bowl. That's something that Philadelphia will have to do if they end up losing this game. So that's where I'm at with that. Let's flip to the main course. To the main course, the Chiefs and Bills. Chiefs are 2 point favorites right now. The over under is set at 47 and a half. Well, who do you have? And why?
So I might surprise you a little bit. Last week I did take the Ravens over the Bills. Obviously I took the Chiefs. This week I'm gonna take the Bills. If I'm going back, if I'm jumping on the wagon, you can't really say that I'm a Bills fan, but I'm gonna take them. I think the totality of their game, similar to the Eagles, I think just fits well against the Chiefs. We've seen them beat them this year and pretty, convincingly in some cases. So I think they've got what they need. Their running game is working well. Like you said, Josh is taking care of the football. Their skill position players, again, they had another week where I think 8 or 9 guys were catching passes from
Yeah.
Allen. So I think they have the ability to score points. Their defense outperformed anything that I expected last week. The ability of that there were some of those guys flying around. I know they had guys returning from their first matchup with Baltimore, but I still expected it to be a relatively, mild defensive game from the Bills. So seeing them kind of have that kind of energy, and if they come out and can at least match what the Chiefs are going to give defensively, then I think, it comes down to the offense, and I'll take the Bills offense right now over what the Chiefs are giving.
I would 100% agree. I'm going all Bills this weekend. I think the Bills are finally going to get it done. I think they're going to beat the narrative that they can't get it done in the playoffs against this team. I think this is the year. I'm riding high in the Bills. I really think that offense, like you said, they can just spread it around to everyone that they want to. Brady does an excellent job of calling plays. The
Yep.
defense actually matches up better against Kansas City than what it ever did against Baltimore, and the fact that they got past Baltimore proves something to me. So yeah, I for that reason alone, like it's just a lot better matchup for Buffalo. If you're just looking at the overall matchup in terms of offense and defense, it's set up better for Buffalo this week than what it was last week, and that's the thing like. And also, like I mentioned, Josh Allen didn't have to play his best game last week for them to advance. I think this week he knows he has to play well, and I think you're gonna get that performance out of him. Um, and I don't think he wants to go home again this year.
Yeah,
I don't know, like that's just
of
cliche, but
course.
like I think this year is the year that they get it done and they advance to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think that for me, there's two keys to the game. When it comes to for the Bills at least. The first is that I think they have to control the score. They have to be putting points up consistently and being able to play
Yeah,
from ahead.
yeah,
And then the second thing is Patrick Mahomes scares the crap out of me if we get to under 2 minutes, and if you're within
yeah,
your
yeah.
3 points, or if it's a tie game, like that's what scares me.
I
And I think it comes down to I don't think
I
I think the Bills will play good defense, but I don't think they can necessarily they're not going to just stop the Chiefs at will. So I
I
think that's
don't
what's
I don't want to bite too far into this because it is a huge apple that you are biting into. But I want to just quickly mention if it's a close game and it's the end of the game, it might come down to a ref's decision. Like that's where I'm at with this right now. It just there's a piece that came out earlier this week. I forget the author who wrote it. But in the piece he broke down since 2021 the Chiefs have had 33 penalties called against them and 66 against other teams. That's double the amount. And it's not like they're the most disciplined team in the league. Like in the regular season, they're not. And then all of a sudden, in the playoffs, they become the most disciplined team. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not going to say the refs are doing a terrible job. I think that they do a fine job. I just don't think you can leave it up to a ref's decision in the dying moments. Like if it's a close game, if it's a tie game, you don't want to take the risk of what happened last week to Houston, where maybe two of your own players hit each other in the head, and that's a PI against your own team. That's where I'm gonna leave it. I don't know if you want to touch on it a little bit, but that's where I'm at with this right now.
No, 100%. I mean, I think you never want to leave a game in the ref's hands at all, right?
Yeah,
Because you want to be the reason why, and that's part of why the Bills need to, like I said, hold the lead and need to be almost more convincing than that. They can't be, satisfied with three or even a 7 point lead at any point in this game. They need to take it to the Chiefs and they need to put it in a place where Mahomes and even the refs, can't make it just a one play game or make it come down to one play. They have to play the full 60 minutes and they have to put themselves, completely ahead of the Chiefs in order to make sure that
yeah.
a lot of people, myself included, think the Bills are the better team, but you don't just take a lead and
You
then you
don't
can
just
kind of
yeah
coast.
you
Yeah.
yeah you're just not the better team, and you just win the game. That doesn't happen.
Yeah. So yeah, I
But
agree.
anyway, we're going Bills, Eagles, and Bills Commanders Super Bowl. So that's what we're predicting. Um, Obviously, cheering from the press box. The last segment of the show is what we're going to dive into next. But we're not going to say we're just going to cheer from the press box for this matchup that we're looking for in the Super Bowl because that's just too obvious. I'll start off with this second or cheering from the press box.
Yeah.
I'm just cheering for the Jays, man. They made a signing. It's not like I'm not cheering for them for any other reason other than they made a signing. That's it. Like, congratulations, cheering. Woo! You made a signing. That's all I'm happy for. Congratulations. That's all I have to say.
No, man, I think that's absolutely valid. Like I think the way that Blue Jays fans and the mostly the city of Canada, if you love baseball, you were waiting for something like this to happen, right? Like you weren't just sitting back and saying like, oh, I mean, people did think that maybe Soto or Sasaki was going to come here, but me personally, I was a little bit more pessimistic about that. So I think it was just nice to kind of see and get that notification. Oh, they signed somebody instead of just hearing that we're interested or that we're involved or that we're once again the second team. So I
Yeah.
can't disagree with you there. Um, I
Who's
stayed
the
within
who's
I
yours cheering from the press box?
Yeah, I stayed within the province of Ontario, but I'm actually
Oh.
kind of cheering for two teams. And it's not so much that I'm cheering, I mean, I am cheering for one of these teams, but it's not so much that I'm cheering for one team to do as best as possible. I'm cheering for a very specific matchup and a very specific time. And that is that I am cheering for the Battle of Ontario to happen in the NHL playoffs. And that's only because, and I can't see that. I'm not going to see that this week. We're going to be having many more episodes before we get to that point. But I bring it up because both the Leafs and Sens are currently in a playoff spot for the first time in what seems like a lifetime.
So the
The
Habs.
That's
No,
fair.
actually they fell out because of Columbus last night
Columbus.
winning. Yeah.
Um, Regardless, I think the Habs, they're going to be right there trying to fight for that wild card spot probably for the rest of the season. There's a handful of teams that are going to
Yeah,
be right there,
yeah,
and
yeah.
unless they were to fall off, I think they'll be there. But specifically when it comes to Ottawa and Toronto, I don't think they've played each other in the playoffs since 2004. So I think
Yeah.
right now, seeing them in a position where that could potentially be the case, I think is so exciting for the league and so exciting for fans in Canada, just because when you look at the Atlantic Division, we've seen so many of the same matchups over and over and over again in the playoffs the
Yeah.
last handful of years, especially since they made the change to the away from the 1 versus 8 um, playoff window. So I like that this gives them an opportunity to play someone different, the Leafs that is, and who better than the Sens when you've had so many great playoff series, and I think a renewed rivalry would certainly help both teams, would help the country in general, and would
Yeah.
able to bring some more fans back to to Ontario playoff hockey. So that's what I'm rooting for. So I'm rooting for both those teams to continue to play well, in hopes that they match up in the first round, maybe a second round, third round. Who knows? I just want to see that
I
at some
I
point. So
I
I'm
hope that
excited.
happens. I you know what else? I also hope that this happens. Montreal versus Toronto.
Fair. I would
Um,
take that in a heartbeat.
yeah. So just quickly before we wrap up, would you be scared if Toronto matched up against Montreal in a first round playoff series?
Montreal specifically. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd probably be a little bit more
Or
fearful of
Ottawa.
Ottawa. I think
Yeah.
Ottawa
Okay.
to me scares me a little bit as a Leafs fan, a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
than what you're
That's
seeing from
fair.
Montreal. Just because Montreal's still a little bit raw, still younger.
Very young. Very
Feel like
young.
the Sens just have a little bit more of a style going. They have a little bit more of a runway to kind of reach, potentially being, one of those top teams in the Atlantic or in the East in
Yeah.
general. So, um, and they've got some great players like Tim Stützle and Brady Tkachuk to me are, two of the real fantastic players in this league and are going to help that Sens team continue to grow in terms of relevance when it comes to the top players and teams in the NHL. So I'm excited to see that hopefully at some point. If it's not this year, maybe it's in years to come. But with Montreal, I think they're just not there yet. Like
Yeah,
if they were
I
to
would
make the
agree. I
playoffs, it
would
would be
agree. It would be
a
a
bit of a
shock.
surprise.
It
Yeah,
would be a shock.
but it would be so exciting. Yeah.
I would think Montreal's going to tail off here a little bit down the backstretch. Same with Columbus and Ottawa will be the clear one to make the playoffs.
You know what? I
But
even though I'm not just saying this because they beat the Leafs last night, but Columbus is they're
yeah,
feisty and they've got some good for whatever
they
reason, they've
also
got some
yeah
good Russian players that can score
s-
and battle in front of the net. Like they're really good.
it's the feel good story and so and
Yeah.
he's looking down from above like just this is the year like it's just a feel good story.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with like I feel like Columbus might tail off, but like it's a feel good story no matter what. Um,
That team would scare the Leafs more than any other team that they could play in
you
the
know
East.
what? They would
Yeah.
scare any team in the East. They really would.
Yeah.
Just like if you got them into a playoff series, like that would scare any team, I feel
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, the way they play.
Um, yeah, that just about does it for this episode of Second Look Sports. Like I said, I'm Justin Arenburg. That's Brandon Brown. Check out Second Look Hockey. They have an episode that comes out every Monday. Check out our Instagram, our Twitter, our Blue Sky, and our YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed there, please subscribe, and you can listen to this podcast wherever you want on Apple or Spotify. It doesn't matter to us. Just give it a listen. And yeah, we'll see you next time, probably with the whole crew again, with Alex and Sarah. Hopefully, Sarah had a good time playing Frisbee, and hopefully, Mando's shift at Sportsnet's going well. But see you next time. I'm Justin Ironberg, and yeah, peace.